As soon as the front door clicked shut and my son's car drove away, my mute grandson Sam, who hasn't spoken anything since 8 years, stood up, walked over to my recliner, and took the steaming cup of tea from my hands. He looked me dead in the eye and whispered in a perfect clear voice, "Grandpa, don't drink this. Mom put the powder in it again. She says if you sleep enough, you won't wake up." My blood ran cold. The dementia and fatigue that I had been suffering from for months was an old age. It was poison. I didn't panic. I didn't dump the tea down the sink. I calmly poured it into a sterile jar and saved it as evidence. Before I tell you how my grandson and I executed the perfect revenge when she walked back through that door, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Hit like and subscribe for more stories like this. My name is Walter, and I'm 70 years old. For the last year, I believed I was losing my mind. The brain fog, the hands shaking, the days I couldn't remember. My daughter-in-law, Chloe, was always there with a sympathetic smile, taking care of me. She insisted I drink her special herbal tea 3 times a day for my nerves. On the day they left for their Caribbean cruise, Chloe was practically glowing. "Now, Walter, you must take very good care of yourself and drink the tea every day," she said. "And don't worry about Sam. He's, well, you know." She gestured to Sam, my 8-year-old grandson, who was sitting in the corner, staring blankly at the wall. Doctors said he was nonverbal, and Chloe has also treated him like a broken piece of furniture. I watched them drive away through the window, feeling the heavy mug warm my hands. I felt weak, ready to give in to the exhaustion. Then I heard a voice behind me. "She doubled the dose today." I turned around. It was Sam. He was standing there, his eyes sharp and alert. He took the mug from my shaking hands and sniffed it. "What?" I croaked, my voice rusty from disuse and the fog in my brain. "Sam, you can talk?" "I've always been able to talk, Grandpa," he whispered, his eyes darting to the window to make sure the car was truly gone. "But if I talk, she hurts me. If I stay quiet, she thinks I'm stupid. She thinks I don't see." He walked me to the sink, and instead of dumping the tea, he urged me to pour the liquid in a dry jar and screw the lid on tight. "We keep this," he said, sounding more like a detective than an 8-year-old. "We need proof. Dad is too weak to stop her, but we aren't." I looked at this boy, really looked at him, for the first time in years. I had been so wrapped up in my own deteriorating health that I hadn't noticed the intelligence burning behind his eyes. I hadn't noticed the bruises on his arms that he carefully hid with long sleeves. "Sam," I said, trying to stand up. My knees buckled. The cumulative effect of the poison was still in my system. Sam was there instantly, bracing his small shoulder under my arm. "What do we do?" "First," Sam said, guiding me back to the chair, "you detox. You drink water. Only water from the sealed bottles in the garage. No tap water. She puts stuff in the filter pitcher, too. Then we find the papers. She talks on the phone when she thinks we're both asleep. She talks about the insurance money." That night was the longest of my life. Without the tea, my body went into a shock I wasn't expecting. I sweated. I shook. I hallucinated. I saw my late wife, Martha, standing at the foot of the stairs weeping. But every time I woke up screaming, Sam was there. He brought me bottled water. He wiped my forehead with a cool cloth. "Fight it, Grandpa," he urged, his voice fierce. "She wants you to die in this chair. She bet Dad that you'd be cold by the time they got back from the Bahamas." That anger, pure, white-hot anger, burned through the fog. My own son, David, he had bet on my death? By the 3rd day, the trembling had stopped. The fog in my head lifted, revealing a terrifying clarity. I wasn't just old and tired. I was being murdered, and my grandson was the only witness. "We have 4 days left," Sam told me over a breakfast of canned beans and toast, the only food we trusted. "They get back Sunday night. We need to be ready." "Ready for what?" I asked, feeling my strength returning. Sam pulled a tablet out from under the sofa cushions. I guessed her password. It was money bags. She's not very smart, Grandpa. Just mean. He swiped the screen and showed me a banking app. I squinted at the numbers. My retirement account. My savings. It was all there, but there were massive transfers pending. Transfers to an offshore account. "And look at this," Sam said, navigating to a search history. "How to induce a heart attack in elderly men. Undetectable poisons found in garden plants. Quick cremation services." My stomach churned. "She's planning to cremate me immediately," I realized. "To destroy the evidence." "Exactly," Sam said. "But we're going to trap her. We need to find where she keeps the powder. I know it's in the basement, but she has a lock on her craft room door. I stood up. I have a sledgehammer in the garage. Sam grinned. It was the first time I'd ever seen him smile. Let's go. The basement door groaned as we pried it open. Chloe called this her sanctuary. She told David she came down here to paint. The room was filled with canvases, mostly terrible abstract art that looked like violent splashes of red and black. Check the ventilation vent, Sam whispered. I saw her standing on a chair there once. I dragged a stool over and unscrewed the grate. Inside, wrapped in a velvet pouch, were 3 vials. One was labeled foxglove, another arsenic. The third was unmarked, filled with a white powder. Don't touch it with your skin, Sam warned. I used a handkerchief to pull them out. We have the weapon, I said. We have the digital trail, but it's not enough, Sam. If we go to the police now, she'll spin a story. She'll say I'm senile, that I planted it. She's manipulative. She has David wrapped around her finger. We need a confession, Sam said. We need them to admit it while someone is listening. How? Sam looked around the room, his eyes landing on a stack of Chloe's painting supplies. We make them think they won. We make them think I'm still mute and you're dead. And then we scare the truth out of them. We spent the next 2 days turning the house into a stage. I was an engineer before I retired. I knew about wiring, about structural integrity, about sound. Sam knew technology. Together, we were a formidable team. We set up cameras. Not big, bulky ones, but tiny lenses from old phones Sam had scavenged. We hid them in the eyes of the family portraits. We hid one in the smoke detector. We hid one directly facing my recliner. Grandpa, Sam said on Saturday night, you look too healthy. He was right. The color had returned to my cheeks. My eyes were bright. If Chloe saw me like this, she'd know the gig was up instantly. She'd panic and run, or worse, try something violent immediately. I need makeup, I said. We raided Chloe's bathroom. Sam was surprisingly good at it. He used a pale foundation to drain the color from my face. He used dark purple shadow to create hollows under my eyes. By the time he was done, I looked like I had one foot in the grave and the other on a banana peel. Perfect, he whispered. Now the hardest part. What's that? You have to play dead, not just asleep. Dead. When they come in, you can't move. You can't breathe deeply. You have to let them think it's over. And you? I asked, gripping his shoulder. I'll be in my corner, he said, reverting to his blank stare, rocking the broken furniture. Sunday evening arrived with a thunderstorm. The sky turned a bruised purple, and rain lashed against the windows. It set the mood perfectly. At 7 p.m., headlights swept across the living room wall. They were here. Showtime, I whispered. I sat in my recliner, slumped to the side, my mouth slightly open, my hands dangling lifelessly over the armrests. I slowed my breathing, taking shallow, imperceptible sips of air. Sam sat in the corner, his knees pulled to his chest, staring at nothing. The front door unlocked. A gust of wind blew in, carrying the scent of rain and expensive perfume. Home, sweet home! Chloe's voice rang out shrill and grating. God, I hate this weather. David, get the bags. I'm getting them, my son grumbled. He sounded tired, defeated. Chloe walked into the living room. I heard her heels click on the hardwood, then stop. Silence. David, she called out. Her voice wasn't scared. It was excited. David, get in here. David stumbled in, dropping the suitcase. What? What is it? Look, she said. I felt them approach. I forced my eyes to remain halfway open, fixed on a point in the distance. I didn't blink. Is he? David asked. His voice trembled. Chloe laughed. It was a cold, sharp sound. She grabbed my wrist. I made my arm limp, heavy. She felt for a pulse. I held my breath. My heart was pounding, but with her cold hands and the excitement, maybe she wouldn't notice. Barely, she said. Thready. He's in a coma, David. Finally. We should call 911, David said, reaching for his pocket. Don't you dare, Chloe snapped. She slapped his hand away. You idiot. We wait. If we call them now, they might revive him. We wait until he stops breathing completely. Then we call. We say we came home and found him like this. It's natural causes. Old age. It feels wrong, Chloe, David whined. He's my dad. He's a burden, she hissed. He's a money pit. Do you want to pay off your gambling debts, David? Do you want to keep the house? Or do you want to live in a cardboard box? Because if he wakes up and changes that will, we have nothing. He wouldn't change that will, David said. He would, if he knew I was feeding him arsenic for breakfast? Chloe sneered. I wanted to jump up and strangle her right then, but I waited. Sam was watching. The cameras were rolling. You really did it? David asked, sounding horrified but not surprised. I thought you were just using sleeping pills. Sleeping pills take too long, she dismissed him. The arsenic buildup mimics heart failure. The coroner won't even look twice at a 70-year-old man with a history of fatigue. Now go pour me a drink. We're celebrating. She turned away from me. I risked a tiny inhalation. David walked to the liquor cabinet. Chloe stood in the center of the room, spinning around, admiring the house that she thought was now hers. Her eyes landed on Sam. Ugh, she groaned. I forgot about the freak. She walked over to Sam. Hey, dummy! She snapped her fingers in front of his face. Sam didn't blink. He kept rocking. What are we going to do with him? David asked, glass in hand. State care, Chloe said casually. Or maybe he has an accident too. He's clumsy. He falls downstairs all the time, doesn't he? That was it. The line. Sam stopped rocking. The room went completely silent. Chloe frowned, tilting her head. Did you hear that? Hear what? David asked. He stopped, she said, pointing at Sam. Sam slowly stood up. He didn't look like a child anymore. He looked like a judgment. I don't fall downstairs, Mom, Sam said. His voice was loud, clear, and dripping with venom. Chloe dropped her purse. You, Chloe stammered. You can talk? I can talk, Sam said, taking a step forward. I can hear, and I can remember. Chloe's face went from shock to fury. She lunged at him. You little rat! How long have you been faking it? She raised her hand to strike him. Don't touch him, I roared. I surged up from the recliner, grabbing the heavy brass lamp from the side table. Chloe screamed and spun around, losing her balance. She fell backward, landing hard on the floor amidst the broken glass. David backed up against the wall, his face pale as a sheet. Dad, he whispered, you're okay? No thanks to you, David. I spat. I stood tall, the makeup making me look like a vengeful ghost. I heard everything, the bet, the debts, the silence while she poisoned me. It wasn't me, David cried, his cowardice on full display. She made me. She said she'd leave me. Oh, shut up, David, Chloe shrieked from the floor. She was cut by the glass, but she ignored it. She looked at me with pure hatred. You old bat! You should be gone by now. Why are you even still here? Because I have something to live for, I said, gesturing to Sam, and I have something to finish. Chloe scrambled to her feet. She reached into her purse. I saw the glint of something metallic. I'll finish it myself, she screamed. Suddenly the house plunged into darkness. Sam had cut the main breaker via the smart home hub on his tablet. What the hell? David yelled. Sam, the protocol, I shouted. In the darkness, chaos erupted. I knew this house better than anyone. I built it. I moved to the left, behind the heavy oak sofa. I'm going. To end you both, Chloe screamed in the dark. David, get the flashlight, she commanded. I can't find it. A voice echoed through the room. It wasn't mine, and it wasn't Sam's. It was coming from the hidden speakers we had installed. It was a recording. Chloe's voice, drink your tea and just sleep. Don't worry about Sam. He's... well, you know. What is that? Chloe shrieked. Another recording played, louder this time. Chloe's voice, if he wakes up and changes that will, we have nothing. Make it stop, she yelled. Then the TV screen flared to life, powered by a backup battery. On the screen was a live feed of the room, illuminated by the infrared night vision of the hidden cameras. We looked like ghosts in the grain, and overlaid on the screen was a timer. 0:30 until police arrival. You called them? David sobbed. We streamed it. Sam's voice came from the darkness. He had moved to the kitchen. We're live, Mom, on Facebook, on YouTube. Grandma's old friends are watching. The neighbors are watching. The police aren't just coming. They're already outside. As if on cue, red and blue lights flooded the front window, cutting through the darkness. The sirens wailed, a beautiful symphony of justice. Open up! Police! A voice boomed from a megaphone outside. Chloe froze. She looked at the TV screen, seeing herself, seeing the comments rolling in on the side of the feed. She admitted it. Get out of there, Walter! Police are there! She realized her life was over. Not just her freedom, her reputation, her vanity, her lies. The front door was kicked in. SWAT officers poured into the hallway, flashlights blinding. Cole fell to her knees, sobbing. Not tears of remorse, but tears of a narcissist who got caught David was on the floor too, hands on his head, weeping like a child. "I didn't do it. It was her. I'm the victim." I walked over to the light switch and flipped it, knowing the power had been restored. I stood there, wiping the makeup from my face with my sleeve. An officer approached me. "Sir, are you Walter?" "I am," I said, my voice steady. "This is the woman who tried to end me, and that is her accomplice." Sam walked out from the kitchen. He went straight to the officer. "I have the evidence," he said, handing over the jar of tea and the tablet, "and the vials are in the basement vent." The officer looked at this small boy, then at me. "You two are safe now." They handcuffed Chloe and David. As they dragged Chloe out, she thrashed and screamed, cursing me, cursing Sam, cursing the world. David just hung his head, unable to look me in the eye. As the door closed behind them, silence finally returned to the house. The rain tapped gently against the glass. I sank into my recliner, the adrenaline leaving my body, leaving me exhausted but alive, truly alive for the first time in months. Sam climbed up onto the chair beside me. He didn't say anything. He just rested his head on my shoulder. "We did it, Grandpa," he whispered after a long time. "We did, Sam," I replied, wrapping my arm around him. "We did." The trial was short. The video evidence was damning. The powder was confirmed to be a mix of chemicals and sedatives. Chloe is looking at 25 years to life. David got 10 years as an accomplice. The jury didn't buy his victim act, not with the betting debts coming to light. I sold the big house. Too many bad memories. Sam and I moved to a smaller place near the coast, a place with fresh air where we can fish and walk on the beach. I legally adopted Sam. It was a battle with the state, but with my health fully recovered. Turns out, without the toxins, I'm as fit as a fiddle. And the hero status the news gave us, the judge granted custody. Sam talks. All the time now. He talks about school, about video games, about the birds we see on our walks. He laughs too. A real belly-shaking laugh that makes me forget the dark days. But sometimes, late at night, I see him staring out the window at the dark ocean. Vigilant. He's still a protector. He's still the boy who saved my life. Yesterday, we were sitting on the porch drinking tea. Real tea, Earl Grey, that we made ourselves. "Grandpa?" Sam said. "Yeah, kiddo." "Do you think they ever loved us? Even a little bit?" It was the question I had been dreading. The question that kept me up at night. How could a son do that to a father? How could a mother do that to a child? I looked at Sam. I didn't want to lie to him. He was too smart for lies. "I think," I said slowly, "that some people are broken inside, Sam. They have a hole where their heart should be, and they try to fill it with money or things. They don't know how to love. They only know how to want." Sam nodded, absorbing this. He took a sip of his tea. "I'm glad we're not broken," he said. "Me too, Sam," I said, squeezing his shoulder. "Me too." I put down my cup and looked at the camera I had set up for my new vlog. Since the story went viral, people wanted updates. They wanted to know we were okay. "So," I said to the lens, "that's how my grandson and I survived. That's how we turned the tables. If you think something is wrong in your life, if you feel like you're fading away, look closer, listen to the quiet ones. They might just save your life." I reached over and turned off the camera. "Want to go get ice cream?" I asked. Sam grinned. "Double scoop?" "Double scoop," I agreed. We walked down the steps of our new home, leaving the shadows behind us, stepping into the sunlight. "Wait, I need to tell you one last thing. A secret I haven't told the police, or the news, or even Sam. When we searched the basement that day before we found the poison, I found something else in Chloe's files. A letter. It was old, yellowed, tucked inside a tax folder. It was from a DNA testing clinic, dated 8 years ago. Subject: paternity test results. Child: Samuel. Alleged father: David. Probability of paternity: 0 to 0%. David wasn't Sam's father. Chloe knew. That's why she hated Sam. That's why she treated him like furniture. He was living proof of an affair, a mistake she wanted to erase. But here's the darker part. I found a second letter, clipped to the first. It was from a man named Marcus. "Chloe, I'm done sending. Money. The kid isn't my problem anymore. If David finds out, that's on you. Deal with it, or I will come in for my share of the inheritance you promised." Marcus. I looked up the name. A known associate of a local crew, currently locked up for major crimes. But he gets out next week. Sam and I are safe from Chloe and David, but Marcus thinks there is an inheritance. Marcus thinks I'm gone, or close to it. He doesn't know the money is gone, spent on legal fees in the new house. He doesn't know Sam is with me. Last night, I saw a car parked down the street, a black sedan. It sat there for an hour, engine idling, then drove away slowly. I didn't tell Sam. He needs to be a kid. He needs to heal. But I didn't sell all of my old tools. I kept the necessary ones and the security cameras, and I bought something new, some protection. Chloe and David were amateurs. They were greedy and sloppy. But this new threat, this Marcus, he sounds dangerous. So while Sam sleeps, I watch. I drink my tea, and I watch the street. My grandson saved my life once. Now it's my turn to save his. If you see a black sedan following you, or if you get a letter claiming you owe money you never borrowed, pay attention. Evil doesn't always come with a smile and a cup of tea. Sometimes it comes with a heavy object in the dark. Let me take you back to the week before the cruise, to the moment when the veil of my confusion first began to tear, though I didn't recognize it at the time. To understand the full horror of what was happening, you have to understand the atmosphere of that house. It wasn't just a home. It was a stage where a slow-motion tragedy was being performed, and I was the unwitting star. I remember a Tuesday. It was raining, a relentless gray downpour that battered the roof, much like the night of the arrest. The house felt damp, the air heavy with unspoken tension. I was sitting at the kitchen table, staring at a crossword puzzle. The letters were swimming before my eyes, shifting and blurring until the black grids looked like cage bars. My hand holding a pen trembled so violently that I couldn't even fill in the answer for betrayal, though the word sat on the tip of my tongue. Chloe came in, humming. She was always humming when she was plotting. It was a soft, discordant melody, something that sounded like a lullaby but felt like a final goodbye. She moved to the counter and started chopping vegetables for a stew. "Walter," she said, her back to me, the rhythm of her chopping never faltering, "have you thought about the power of attorney papers?" I had. I had thought about them until my head pounded. The papers were sitting on the sideboard, a neat stack of legal threats disguised as assistance. "I'm not ready to sign anything, Chloe," I had mumbled, my voice sounding weak even to my own ears. I still know who I am. "But you're forgetting things," she pressed. The blade hit the cutting board with a rhythmic thwack. 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 It was a harsh sound, precise and sharp. "You left the stove on yesterday. The gas was running for an hour. David is worried sick. He cries himself to sleep thinking you're going to cause a fire with us inside." I felt a cold flush of shame, but beneath it, a flicker of confusion. I hadn't left the stove on. I was sure of it. I remembered checking the dials. I remembered the click of them turning off. But looking at her confident posture, doubt crept in like a fog. She had turned it on after I left the room. It was Mind Games 101, executed with terrifying efficiency. "I'm fine," I insisted, though I gripped the table to stop my hands from shaking. She stopped chopping. The silence that followed was heavier than the noise. She turned to me, the chef's tool still in her hand, dripping with vegetable juice. She walked over slowly, leaning down until her face was inches from mine. For a second, just a split second, the mask of the caring daughter-in-law slipped. Her eyes were empty, flat, black, and devoid of any human warmth. Shark eyes. "You're not fine, Walter," she said softly, her voice a caress of pure ill intent. "You're fading. You just don't know it yet." At the time, I thought she was being dramatic, perhaps trying to scare me into compliance. Now I know she was simply stating a fact. She had already started the regimen. The clock was already ticking. That evening, she served the stew. It was a thick green sludge. It smelled metallic. I took a spoonful, and the taste made my jaw ache. Acrid and impossibly bitter. I gagged slightly. "It's the kale," she said quickly, watching me from across the table with a tight, expectant smile. "It's an organic superfood blend. It's good for you. It'll help your memory." I ate it. I ate every single bite because I wanted to be a good father-in-law. I wanted to prove I wasn't a burden. I wanted to make life easier for them, even as my stomach began to churn and burn as if I had swallowed fire. I spent that night sick from the toxins, my body screaming in pain. Sam watched from the hallway shadows, a silent ghost. I thought he was scared, but he was actually memorizing my symptoms, building a case because he knew no one else would. Later, he revealed he had stolen Chloe's dream journal, hiding it inside a hollowed-out encyclopedia. "It's not dreams," he told me. "It's plans." Inside, the handwriting was jagged and frantic. Entry 44 complained that I was tougher than I looked, and the regimen wasn't working fast enough to pay off David's lenders. Entry 45 was even worse. "Sam saw me mixing the powder. If he talks, I'll send him to that special school in Nevada, the one with the high walls." Reading those words replaced my fear with cold resolve. The entry was dated 3 months ago. Sam had carried this terrifying secret alone, silently playing the part of the broken mute child while watching and waiting for the perfect moment to save us both. When he finally spoke to me that day when he broke his silence as their car drove away, it wasn't just an act of courage, it was an act of desperation. He knew I was out of time. He knew that if he didn't speak then, he would never speak to me again. I visited David in the prison once. Just once. I sat behind the glass partition. He looked terrible. Gray skin, hollow eyes. He had lost weight. "Why?" I asked him. No anger, just curiosity. He wouldn't look at me. She has a way of making things make sense, Dad. At first it was just borrowing money. Then it was, he's old, he's in pain, it's a mercy. She twists everything. "And the boy?" I asked. "Sam?" David flinched. "I didn't know about the paternity, I swear. I thought he was mine. But you let her treat him like a dog." "I was weak," David whispered. "I've always been weak. You knew that." "I knew you were soft," I corrected him. "I didn't know you were evil." He put his hand against the glass. "I'm sorry, Dad." I looked at his hand. The hand I used to hold when he was a boy crossing the street. The hand I taught to throw a baseball. "I know you are," I said. "But sorry doesn't fix this, David. Sorry doesn't take the poison out of my blood. Sorry doesn't give Sam his childhood back." I stood up. "Dad?" he called out. "Will you come back?" I paused at the door. "No. Walter is no more, David. You finished him. I'm someone else now. I'm Sam's grandfather, and that's all I am." I walked out and never looked back. It's been a week since I wrote the first part of this story. The black sedan came back. This time, it didn't drive away. I was in the garage. Sam was asleep upstairs. I heard the car door close. I heard footsteps on the gravel. "Walter!" a voice called out, rough, gravelly. A man stood there, tall, tattooed neck, wearing a cheap suit that didn't fit. "Marcus." "Get off my property," I said. He held up his hands. "Whoa, old-timer. I ain't here for trouble." "You're Marcus," I said. "I know who you are. I know what you want. There's no money. Chloe spent it." He laughed. A dry, barking sound. "Money? I don't give a damn about Chloe's money. She owes me, sure, but that ain't why I'm here." "Then why?" He looked up at the house, at the window of Sam's room. "I saw the news," Marcus said. "I saw the kid. He looks like me. Around the eyes." "He's my grandson," I yelled. "Do not even look at him." "Biologically, he's mine," Marcus said. "Chloe told me she didn't keep the child. Said she took care of it. I've been sending her hush money for years because she threatened to tell my P.O. I was involved in some other stuff. She played me too." This was a twist I hadn't expected. Chloe was blackmailing everyone. "So what do you want?" I asked again. Marcus reached into his jacket. He pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I'm not a good guy, Walter," Marcus said. "I've done bad things. But I ain't a father who abandons his kid. I wanted to see him. Just once. To know he's okay." He placed the paper on the hood of his car. "That's a bank account," he said. "It ain't much. Clean money. From a construction job I worked before I went inside. It's for him. For college. Or whatever." He backed away. "You tell him..." Marcus paused, his voice catching. "You don't tell him nothing about me. Let him think his dad was a hero or something. Don't tell him his old man is a con." "He knows David wasn't his father," I said. "He's smart." "Yeah," Marcus smiled. "He looks smart. Keep him safe, Walter. Chloe has friends. Bad friends. I put the word out that the kid is off limits, but watch your back." He got back in the car. "Marcus," I called out. He rolled down the window. "Thank you." He nodded once, started the engine, and drove into the night. I picked up the paper. It was a routing number for a savings account containing $15,000. I went back inside and locked the door. I went upstairs and checked on Sam. He was fast asleep, clutching a teddy bear I had bought him. I realized then that family isn't blood. Blood is just biology. Family is who brings you water when you're sick. Family is who stands between you and the monster. Chloe and David were blood. Marcus was blood. But Sam and I, we were something else. We were survivors. And tomorrow, we're going fishing. If you loved my story of revenge, please hit like and subscribe to the channel. It inspires us to share more such stories with you.